If you're considering hiring a fractional CMO or you're curious about what they actually do when they start working with the company, this video is for you. Most people think a fractional CMO shows up, jumps straight into writing a marketing plan, and starts running campaigns on your behalf, and you barely see them. But that's not really how it works. At least that's not what I do. The first 30 days are about something else entirely. Aloha, I'm Brent Shiratori, and this is Ideal Marketing. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what I typically do during my first 30 days with a new fractional CMO client. I'll be covering the three major phases I take them through. First, the Strategy Kickoff Session, where I sit down with leadership and the marketing team to understand their challenges, goals, and competitive landscape. Second, the Audit Collection Organization phase, where I gather all the marketing the company has done and is currently doing and try to make sense of it. And third, how I develop what I call a marketing strategy blueprint, which becomes the foundation for everything we do moving forward. Now, every client is different. Some need more focus in one area than another, but this is the general framework I follow to build a solid foundation before we start changing anything. Let's get started. A lot of companies hire a fractional CMO because something isn't working. Marketing efforts aren't translating to revenue. They've tried other agencies and designers and didn't see much value. Leadership knows they need more strategic direction, but they don't have the budget or the need for a full-time executive. So they bring someone like me in. And there's often this expectation that I'll walk in on day one, see what's broken and start fixing it. Run some new campaigns, maybe overhaul the website, launch a rebrand. But if I did that, honestly, I'd be guessing. And guessing is expensive and not very effective. The first 30 days aren't about doing more marketing. They're about understanding why the current marketing isn't working. What's the real problem? Is it the tactics, the messaging, the audience targeting? Is it alignment between sales and marketing? Is it a positioning issue? I can't answer those questions by looking at a few reports. I have to really dig in. So let me walk you through how I actually do that. The first thing I do with any new client is schedule what I call a strategy kickoff session. This is typically a 90-minute meeting, either in person or over Zoom, with the key stakeholders. That usually means the owners or CEO, the marketing team, and sometimes the head of sales. The goal of this session is alignment. I need to understand what leadership expects from this engagement, what their priorities are, and how we're going to communicate throughout. But more importantly, I need to understand the business at a level that most marketing consultants never get to. I start by explaining the engagement, what we're going to do together, how the process works, and what they can expect from me over the coming months. This sets the tone and makes sure everyone's on the same page before we dive into any real work. Then we get into it. The first thing I ask is, what do they feel are their biggest challenges when it comes to marketing? What do you feel isn't working right now? What keeps you up at night when it comes to marketing? This is where I hear things like, we're spending money on ads but not seeing an ROI, or our sales team says the leads aren't qualified, or we know we need to do more content marketing but we don't have the bandwidth. The key to a successful fractional CMO engagement is ensuring that you are addressing their perceived problems first. You need to build trust. There may be other issues you need to handle, but always focus on your client's stated core problems before you tackle any others. From there, I dig into the industry. What trends are impacting your business? Are there seasonal factors I should be aware of? What's changed in your market over the past year that you haven't adapted to yet? Questions like these help me understand the external forces at play, because sometimes the marketing isn't the problem. Sometimes the market has shifted and the company just hasn't adjusted yet. Then we talk about customers. Who's your average customer today? And who would be your ideal customer? Why would you consider them ideal? What about them makes them better than your average customer? I'm trying to figure out what the client values and what kind of customers they want more of. Then I go into, what would you say are their biggest pain points? What do they care about? And how do you relieve those pain points? Where do you think you're losing potential customers in the buying journey? I'm trying to figure out what part of the marketing process they feel is weak. I also ask about objections. What reasons do people give for not buying from you? This is really insightful, because if I understand why people say no, I can start crafting messaging that addresses those concerns before they become deal breakers. Next, I ask about their current marketing. Which channels are helping to bring in the most business for you? which aren't, and why do you think that is? Do they feel like their efforts are aligned with business goals? How confident are they in their data and reporting? And I always ask this one, if you could fix one thing in your marketing immediately, what would it be? The answer tells me a lot about where their head is at and what's causing the most frustration. The point isn't to take these answers at face value. They're hiring me to figure out how to solve their marketing problems. But it's helpful to know their assumptions so I know what areas to look more into and determine the best way to position new recommendations. We also spend time on goals. What are the business goals? Growth, revenue, retention, and what are the marketing goals that support those? Most can answer their business goals pretty easily, but not a lot know what marketing goals they need to be working on. They have vague ideas about wanting more leads or more brand awareness, but they haven't connected those to specific business outcomes. And that's actually a good thing, because then I can recommend what I think is best for them. Finally, I ask about their competitors. Who are your top 3 and why? What are they doing well? Where do you have an edge? This session usually runs the full 90 minutes, sometimes longer. And by the end, I have a much clearer picture of the business than most external consultants ever get. I worked with a real estate company recently that came to me because they were struggling to stand out. Their marketing was generic. They sounded like every other agent in the market. During the kickoff session, I kept asking questions. What makes you different? Why do clients choose you over someone else? And at first, they gave me the usual answers. Great service, local expertise, responsive communication. But when we dug deeper, some interesting things came out. One of the founders had a background in education, and that educational mindset shaped how they work with their clients. They don't just help clients buy or sell homes. They taught them how to evaluate properties. They walked them through pricing strategies and preparation tactics that most agents never explain. And the other founder was highly focused on taking great care of their clients, not just in the standard customer service sense, more like a responsibility to ensure their clients get the best deal, make the right choices, and ultimately have peace of mind in such a big decision like buying and selling a home. Those 2 key values became the foundation of their new positioning, and it never would have surfaced if we'd skipped this conversation and jumped straight into tactics. Before I wrap up the kickoff session, I give them some homework. I ask them to gather all their current marketing assets, every campaign, every report, every piece of collateral, and that sets up the next phase. Once the kickoff session is complete, I move into what I call the audit and organization phase. This is where I collect everything the company is currently doing in marketing and organize it so I can actually make sense of it. I ask for all current marketing assets across every category. That includes advertising, the website, content and SEO, social media, any collateral like brochures or sales decks, email marketing, sponsorships, events, PR, and lead generation tools. I also ask for their current marketing budget, performance reports from campaigns, web analytics, and CRM data. Even if they've used other agencies or consultants in the past, most companies have all of these completely scattered in various folders, emails, dashboards they rarely look at, even text messages and chats. So this collection task is critical for the next step. Once I have everything, I organize it into their new marketing library and toolkit. A clear organizational system that maps out what exists, where it lives, and what it's supposed to accomplish. Then I review and summarize. I look for patterns. What's working? What's clearly not? What's missing entirely? Sometimes I find that a company is spending 40% of their budget on a channel that's generating 5% of their leads. Or they have a content library with 200 blog posts that nobody's reading because there's no keyword or distribution strategy. This phase usually takes a week or 2, depending on how much material there is and how organized the company was to begin with. But by the end, I have a complete picture of the current state of their marketing, and that's what I need to move into the final phase. This is where everything comes together. Based on what I learned in the kickoff session and what I found in the audit, I develop a marketing strategy blueprint. This document becomes the foundation for all marketing decisions moving forward. It's not a 50-page report that sits on a shelf. It's a working document that guides priorities and keeps everyone aligned. And most importantly, it continues to evolve as we adjust the strategy, add new tactics, and take out others. Let me walk you through some of the things that normally goes into it. First, I develop or refine their value proposition. This is one of the most important pieces, and it's often where companies are weakest. Here's a straightforward formula that works for most clients. We identify what is the core problem they solve, What specific pain point or need does this customer have that this company is uniquely positioned to address? Then I ask them to explain simply how they solve that problem. What do they actually do that delivers meaningful outcomes for the customer? Next, identify the competitive advantage. Based on what I learned about competitors, what sets this company apart in a way that's relevant, credible, and hard to replicate? Finally, we outline the reasons to believe. What proof points do we have? Testimonials, case studies, data, credentials, anything that supports our claims and builds trust. From all of that, I write a value proposition statement. A clear, concise statement that communicates who we serve, the benefit we provide, and why we're the better choice. Next, I create a customer journey map. This outlines how customers move from not knowing the company exists at all to becoming loyal advocates. I break the journey into stages. Awareness, when they first learn about the brand. Interest, when they start engaging with content. Consideration, when they're evaluating options. Decision, when they make a purchase. And post-purchase, where we focus on retention and referrals. For each stage, I document what the customer is trying to accomplish, what actions they typically take, what touchpoints and channels are relevant, and what emotions or pain points they experience. This map reveals gaps. Where are people dropping off? Where are we missing opportunities to engage? Where is the experience confusing or frustrating? I also facilitate a SWOT analysis with the team. We identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, I honestly have a love-hate relationship with the SWOT analysis that every single business student learns in college. It's ubiquitous in the business world, but almost every single time I've seen it used, it's a nice slide in a deck, but it often doesn't actually drive the strategy, and it's rarely ever reviewed or updated again. But I think the problem is that it's usually just a list of things to check off the box. They're not actionable. They're not a true insight. So when I do a SWOT, I'm very selective on what I include and make sure that each point leads directly to a strategic decision. One way is by mapping out all the opportunities on a prioritization matrix. High impact and low resources, do it immediately. High impact but high resources, plan for the long term. Low impact and low resources, tertiary priority. Low impact and high resources, don't do it at all. This gives us a clear sense of where to focus. All of this gets synthesized into a strategy blueprint. The document includes objectives and KPIs, what are we trying to achieve, and how will we measure success? A situation analysis that summarizes the internal and external factors impacting the business. The value proposition we developed. Overall strategies, the high-level marketing approaches that will guide everything we do. Tactics, the specific campaigns and activities we'll implement. A timeline with phases and milestones. A budget that breaks down allocation by channel or initiative, and a reporting format that specifies how we'll track and communicate performance. Once the blueprint is drafted, I present it to the leadership team. We discuss it, I get their feedback, we refine it together. It's highly collaborative, and it's designed to ensure that both goals and internal needs are being addressed. Only after everyone is aligned do we start assigning tasks and moving into execution. This is why the first 30 days matter so much. By the time we start doing the actual marketing work, everyone knows what we're doing and why we're doing it. The team understands the strategy and leadership is on board. So that's what the first 30 days looks like when you work with a fractional CMO. At least that's how I approach it. Strategy kickoff to understand the business deeply. Audit to see what's really happening with current marketing efforts. And a marketing strategy blueprint that aligns everyone and sets a direction. If you're a company that's struggling to connect marketing to revenue, this kind of foundation makes all the difference. It's really the difference between random tactics and strategic execution. If you found this helpful, I've got more videos on marketing strategy, brand positioning, and how to build marketing that actually delivers results. Subscribe so you don't miss them. Remember, you don't need to buy more ads when you have better ideas.